Although she knew that solitary warped your perception of time, it was hard to believe she had been here, alone, for almost 6 months. The years she'd spent with Talia and their third cellmate, Lise, a hard-faced girl who smiled for the first time when they took Clarke away, had felt like an eternity. But there was no other explanation. Today had to be her 18th birthday, and the only present waiting for Clarke was a syringe that would paralyze her muscles until her heart stopped beating. Afterward, her lifeless body would be released into space, as was the custom on the colony, left to drift endlessly through the galaxy. A figure appeared in the door, and a tall, slender man stepped into the cell. Although his shoulder-length gray hair partially obscured the pin on the collar of his lab coat, Clarke didn't need the insignia to recognize him as the Council's chief medical advisor. She'd spent the better part of the year before her confinement shadowing Dr. Lahiri and couldn't count the number of hours she'd stood next to him during surgery. The other apprentices had envied Clarke's assignment and had complained of nepotism when they discovered that Dr. Lahiri was one of her father's closest friends. At least, he had been before her parents were executed. "Hello, Clarke," he said pleasantly, as if he were greeting her in the hospital dining room instead of a detention cell. "How are you?" "Better than I'll be in a few minutes, I imagine." Dr. Lahiri used to smile at Clarke's dark humor, but this time he winced and turned to the guard. "Could you undo the cuffs and give us a moment, please?" The guard shifted uncomfortably. "I'm not supposed to leave her unattended." "You can wait right outside the door," Dr. Lahiri said with exaggerated patience. "She's an unarmed 17-year-old. I think I'll be able to keep things under control." The guard avoided Clarke's eyes as he removed the handcuffs. He gave Dr. Lahiri a curt nod as he stepped outside. "You mean I'm an unarmed 18-year-old, Clarke said, forcing what she thought was a smile. "Or are you turning into one of those mad scientists who never knows what year it is?" Her father had been like that. He'd forget to program the circadian lights in their flat and end up going to work at 0400, too absorbed in his research to notice that the ship's corridors were deserted. "You're still 17, Clarke," Dr. Lahiri said in the calm, slow manner he usually reserved for patients waking up from surgery. "You've been in solitary for 3 months." "Then what are you doing here?" she asked, unable to quell the panic creeping into her voice. "The law says you have to wait until I'm 18. "There's been a change of plans. That's all I'm authorized to say." "So you're authorized to execute me, but not to talk to me?" She remembered watching Dr. Lahiri during her parents' trial. At the time, she'd read his grim face as an expression of his disapproval with the proceedings, but now she wasn't sure. He hadn't spoken up in their defense. No one had. He'd simply sat there mutely as the council found her parents, 2 of Phoenix's most brilliant scientists, to be in violation of the Gaia Doctrine, the rules established after the cataclysm to ensure the survival of the human race. "What about my parents? Did you kill them too?" Dr. Lahiri closed his eyes, as if Clarke's words had transformed from sounds into something visible. Something grotesque. "I'm not here to kill you," he said quietly. He opened his eyes and then gestured to the stool at the foot of Clarke's bed. "May I?" When Clarke didn't reply, Dr. Lahiri walked forward and sat down so he was facing her. "Can I see your arm, please?" Clarke felt her chest tighten, and she forced herself to breathe. He was lying. It was cruel and twisted, but it'd all be over in a minute. She extended her hand toward him. Dr. Lahiri reached into his coat pocket and produced a cloth that smelled of antiseptic. Clarke shivered as he swept it along the inside of her arm. "Don't worry, this isn't going to hurt." Clarke closed her eyes. She remembered the anguished look Wells had given her as the guards were escorting her out of the council chambers. While the anger that had threatened to consume her during the trial had long since burned out, thinking about Wells sent a new wave of heat.